We started that fire already there?
Yeah, kind of.
Trying to figure out why it's warm.
Yeah, no, it's really... I actually packed it and I didn't light it, but the embers just...
put it on fire.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's screwed down.
There's no loss. Yeah. But
early.
This is a life of layers. In this season, taking off layers, putting on layers, and then trying to wipe away the layers, Cheto Darbana Marjanam. It's all about layers. So yesterday, in our Harikatha, which was the full moon day, we we read about Śrī Kṛṣṇa's Dhamma Bandhana Lila from the book called Gopal Champu, and we heard the first part of the Lila, probably the first half, I would say, almost, up to the point where Srimati Yashoda is endeavoring. Hasn't quite, or did she? Did she bind him yet to the grinding mortar or not?
She was getting ropes that were true.
Yeah. I don't remember if we got to the part where she actually bound him yet.
But she started perspiring. Did he witness
that?
Yeah.
So
he was seeing his mother's labor of love. So.
Yeah, but it hasn't yet.
Yeah.
And the other mothers were going, oh, don't you remember something like that? They had some cheeky comment too.
Oh yeah, I mean this was a whole event in the early morning hours, right? Where everybody became aware that Mother Yashoda is trying to bind her son, because she was actually sending all the different cowherd ladies to their homes to bring more. They were using the ropes to bind the calves.
And Srila Gurudev, he gave a meaning of this, that the rope represents her Vatsalya Bhav to bind him, and then it's not enough, so then all the others, that they also contribute their Vatsalya Bhav, and then all together can't bind him.
That was in the reading we had yesterday?
I heard
just
that.
remembering from...
I'm just remembering that.
From Gurudev's Katha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gurudev also told.
Yeah.
So anyway, today we'll complete that topic, which should be a very wonderful experience. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya-devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shrishtam Manamapi Sachiputramatra Sarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Maturim Gostavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Aho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurun Tam Natosmi Hey Shri Guru Jnanada Dina Bandho Swananda Data Karunaika Sindho Vrindavanasina Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sada dasosmi sarvata Tat kripa pekshako nityam Tat preshtashat karomi swam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha Kripa sindhubhya evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Namo Mahabhajanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tishe Namaha Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Alladhini Shaktir Asmad Ekatmana Vapibhuvi Puradeha Vedam Gutauto Chaitanyakyam Prakatam Aduna Tadvayam Chaikyam Aptam Radha Bhava Dyuti Subalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam Ajanulambita Bhujau Kanakavadato Samkirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Jugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Angashyamani Vachata Virabhito Mandi Kritandivaram Jadyam jagudarochisham vidadatam pattam varasya shriya vrindaranya nivasanam vridila saddama viramodaram radha skanda niveshito jalabhujam dhyayem damodaram bhaktya vihina aparadha lakshai kiptascha kamadi taranga madhye kripa maitvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanarvindam vrindai tulsi devai priyai Keśavasya cha Krishna bhakti prade devi satyavachai namo namaha panchatattvatmakam Krishnam bhaktarupa swarupakam bhaktavataram bhaktakyam namami bhakta shaktikam Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited obeisances, dandavat pranams, and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable, beloved Diksha and Siksha Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Ashtatarasata Shri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable, beloved Siksha Gurudevs Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Shri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Shri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And my Dandavat pranams to all of my Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, and my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. We heard the aerial voice. When did the aerial voice come?
Before she was about to chase Krishna, right? And she goes.
Meanwhile, Mother Yashoda had stopped the milk from boiling over into the fire. And the milk cooled down to a simmer within seconds, and she took it off the stove. She dashed back to where she had left her son, only to find that he was gone. However, seeing evidence of her son's activities, she laughed in mixed anger and amusement. At first, out of suspicion, she became perturbed. But then Yogamāya manifested an aerial voice, which gave her knowledge and made her laugh. The aerial voice said, "Feeling hungry and thirsty, your little bumblebee made a hole in the bud of a lotus flower that had no pollen. And when he saw that it was merely water that began dripping from that flower, he became disappointed. And he went to another lotus flower where he has found a big supply of honey. The import and this is still the voice telling, the import is that in order to get fresh butter, your son performed all these deeds. He first broke the churning pot, but he did not find butter there. He then found it hanging in the next room. You have displayed your intelligence by deciding to leave your baby and go cool down the milk. But if you can calm the anger of your child, you will receive even more praise. So upon hearing the aerial voice, Mother Yashoda laughed and followed the thief's conspicuous yogurt footprint to the next room. She managed to force the doors open. Then she stepped inside, only to behold her son's other matchless mischief. Tracing his path of escape, she finally spotted him, his eyes restless with fear. And he was thinking, I have just stolen fresh butter. If my mother sees me here, how will I face her? His eyes moved about so frantically that they seemed to be on the verge of leaping into his ears. In other words, his eyes and his ears were watching out for his mother. So we actually read the whole description, how she quietly crept up behind her guilty son, and then there was this whole conversation. What are you doing? Switched. Oh my God. Oh. I lost. Let me find it again in the library. Just to make more intensity for our reading. Okay. Yes, okay. So threatening him, Mother Yashoda said, "Oh Krishna, you have given me so much trouble. Before you steal from your home, first look at this stick in my hand." And when she saw her lotus-eyed son's terror upon hearing these words, Sri Brajeshwari tossed the stick aside. "Don't beat me, mother," Krishna beseeched her. The queen of Braja scorned him. "But you are a thief, a thief!" Laughing to herself, she suddenly and forcefully instigated a quarrel with him. "Ah, you are the king of thieves, Chor!" Krishna protested, "No, mother. Chor took birth in your dynasty, not mine. Why would we have a Chor in our home?" In this way, Mother Yashoda and her butter-stealing son argued with each other. She said, "Oh, really? Well, who broke the pot of yogurt?" She then inquired. Krishna replied, "The Supreme Lord. He was punishing you." But, she continued, "Who fed butter to the monkeys?" Krishna answered, He who created them. "No," she exclaimed, "I suspect that you always feast with great relish on the fresh butter that we prepare for use in religious sacrifices." Mother Yashoda scolded her son as she would a thief, but finally her heart softened. Then she laughed with anger. And she said, "Just admit your theft. Give up your arrogance." Thus pressed by his mother, Śrī Kṛṣṇa burst into tears. "Look, Ma," he sobbed. "When you anxiously rushed to save the milk, your ankle bell struck the pot of yogurt and it broke. How is this my fault?" "And the monkeys," he continued, "they were inspired by the Supreme Lord to sneak into the house to steal. And when they began taking the butter, I caught them. What did I do wrong?" "And then," he retorted, "the stick in your hand, it frightened me. So even though I am completely innocent, I fled like a thief. You saw I was so afraid, but still you mercilessly chased me, all for no reason. Mother Yashoda spoke as if lamenting. Oh, you who are the king of those skilled in argument, she said. You are the best of thieves. Although you are the son of Sri Braj, the most noble of men, your nature has become like a monkey's because you are fond of them. And when fearful Śrī Kṛṣṇa heard this, he pointed to the forest and he said, if I am a monkey, then I will live in the forest, which slightly frightened his mother. Who knows, she thought. This arrogant boy could easily put his threat into action. To keep him from running into the forest, I must tie him up. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for me to single-handedly manage my household duties and this child. So turning to Krishna, she openly said, you thief, you restless boy, you who bewilder one and all by the charm of your flickering eyes, why don't you simply accept my prohibitions? Look, I will tie you up and then quickly return to the house. If you have any strength left, you can show it to me by trying to steal something else. So as she started to bind him, his eyes became moist, and in fury, he began to loudly cry out, "Oh, Mother Rohiṇī!" He shrieked, "Where have you gone with my big brother? Because you are not here today, this mother is tying me up. Come quickly!" Since Sri Rohiṇī was far away, she could not hear his cries. But the ladies from neighboring homes, who had previously complained about Krishna and who had chastised him, they did hear his cries. They informed each other of the fun, and then they assembled there. Can you imagine? All these gopis and their neighbors, quick, quick, come, Krishna's being tied up. Yes. So, they informed each other of the fun and they assembled there. And as if taunting her, they reminded Sri Yashoda of their complaints. Has this thief done something mischievous in your home also? They laughed. Mother Yashoda, however, was bent on teaching her son a lesson, so she paid no heed to their remarks. Snatching up a silk ribbon that had fallen from her braid, she immediately began binding her son's waist to a grinding mortar lying in the courtyard. And with the same persistence it takes to bind the neck of a calf. But that silk ribbon was 2 fingers too short. So we read about this sequence, 2 fingers too short. And observing this, the ladies of Vraja laughed and they remarked, "Oh, Vrajeshwari, we already told you that this boy, he surely has some extraordinary illusory potency. On account of it, he even surpasses Kaphalak, the foremost among thieves." There must be some great lore about this person, Kaphalak. He seems to be satisfied simply by eating stolen goods, or by such acts, he delights both the donors of those goods and the enjoyers of them. He is gradually gaining quite a reputation as one who steals others' possessions. So they're telling all this to Mother Yashoda. Then Mother Yashoda responded, "What does this recently born child know about being a thief? He does not know good from bad, but it seems that you are the ones who know some evil trickery. Although you actually favor him, externally you behave in a contrary way. So you're being tricky. This boy is not tricky. He doesn't know good, but you're being tricky." So at this, what she said, then the ladies laughed. "Oh, respected Sri Yashoda," they said, "we take an oath at your feet that we have nothing to do with these astonishing powers." So finally, Sri Yashoda reasoned to herself, as Sri Garga Acharya said, "Surely some potency of Sri Bhagavan surrounds my son. This infant boy cannot know what he is doing. So just to put an end to this bewilderment, Sri Yashoda repeatedly called for more and more churning ropes from the homes of those gopis. Despite her persistence in her endeavor to bind her son, she could not find any way to accomplish the seemingly impossible task. Instead, Sri Yashoda, the queen of Vraja, dripped with perspiration, and curls of hair fell over her face again and again. Finally, she became completely exhausted. That's where we left off. As long as Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who was born in the Yadu dynasty, stubbornly refused to be bound, Mother Yashoda's persistent efforts were fruitless. Just as one whose fate is grasped by an unfavorable star is always unsuccessful in his endeavors. So what was the factor? The unfavorable star was what? Krishna's stubbornly refusing to be bound. Therefore, Mother Yashoda's persistent efforts were fruitless. Finally, Śrī Kṛṣṇa's heart was touched by the sight of his mother being so overwhelmed, and almost immediately she successfully bound him with the 2 ribbons she had initially used from her hair. It was clear to all present that it was only these 2 ribbons that bound Śrī Kṛṣṇa. The other ropes she had used to tie him simply lay there. It was actually Śrī Kṛṣṇa's maid servant, his Yogamāya potency, who had understood his mind and accomplished the task of binding him. This made Mother Yashoda feel that all those astonishing activities of Śrī Kṛṣṇa were an illusion. When that rope was finally tied tightly around Śrī Kṛṣṇa's waist, Mother Yashoda knotted it to another long rope, which she then tied around the middle of the grinding mortar. So, this is the sequence. First trying to tie around his waist. I didn't quite know this. You know, you're always thinking, in which order did she first tie to the grinding mortar, this, that. But first, it's the waist. And then very easily, she could tie another rope to it, right? And tie it to the grinding mortar. Yes. Yeah. She had taught her son Krishna a lesson by tying him up, and thus showed him how unmoved she could be by his stubbornness. To protect him, she seated the other little boys around him and happily went inside. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga, Shri Radha Govinda ki Jai. Jai Govinda Gopala. So, yes. So to protect him, she seated the other little boys around him and then happily went inside with the giggling gopis to complete her household chores. Within a moment of the Braja gopis' departure, Śrī Kṛṣṇa manifested his pastime of crying, but he soon cheered up at the thought of pulling the grinding mortar around. He was tied up, but because he was surrounded by other little boys, he stimulated their desire for adventure. As he laughed and played with them, he slowly began to tug at the grinding mortar. The gopis, who had gleefully brought ropes from their homes to bind Śrī Kṛṣṇa, they were now in Nanda Bhavan with Sri Yashoda. This meant that their homes were empty. So seizing that excellent opportunity, Śrī Kṛṣṇa directed his friends to steal the fresh butter hanging from the ceilings of their deserted homes and then eat it. Because Śrī Kṛṣṇa found pulling the grinding mortar so entertaining, he never even wanted to free himself by his own hands, nor by the hands of his friends. This is all new. Just then, his eyes fell on the twin Arjuna trees, which stood facing the main gate and which swayed as if dancing whenever there was a strong wind. As Śrī Kṛṣṇa pulled the mortar along, he eventually crawled towards the middle of the two trees. At this point, Snigdha, who had been loudly narrating all this with great excitement, suddenly realized, if I tell them that Sri Hari is the cause of the two trees falling, I will be glorifying his Aishwarya, or his opulence. That would not at all be appropriate in this assembly of Vraja-devīs, who are absorbed in Sri Hari's madhurya, or sweetness. I will conceal this fact, and I will just tell them another reason why the trees fell. This is getting more and more mysterious as it moves along. So Snigdha continued, just as Śrī Kṛṣṇa came between the trees, he became filled with eagerness to proceed further and quickly crawled between them. The passage between the trees was narrow, and as he crawled away, the mortar became stuck. Śrī Kṛṣṇa jerked and tugged at the mortar with the conscious intention of breaking the rope that bound him to it. But instead, the two trees made a crackling sound as they were uprooted, and they came crashing to the ground, falling in opposite directions. The sound was so tumultuous that it made the Brajvasis feel more disoriented than deaf people, and it made their minds restless. Although Śrī Kṛṣṇa had uprooted the twin Arjuna trees, which were more powerful than thunderbolts, amazingly, he was still unable to break the rope that embodied his mother's intense attachment and relentless determination, born of Vatsalya Prem. In this regard, poets praise Śrī Kṛṣṇa as follows. Doesn't say any reference here. It's just the poetry of Jiva Goswami. Shyamanga dyuti kinkini dvani dharam ringatiranga pradam karshat chashvad udu kalam kara karat kara prakara pratam. Oh, I know the meter now. Vishpurja pratimarjuna dvaya katak karajitat kautukat paryavrita nirikshinam vrajavadhu lalyasya balyam stuve. Here's the translation. I adore the childhood mood, the balya bhav of Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who is nurtured by the ladies of Braja. He is gloriously situated in his childhood mood, in which his dark blue limbs are adorned by his tinkling ankle bells. He bestows the greatest bliss as he crawls on his knees, and he repeatedly pulls at the grinding mortar, which clatters as he drags it along. Excited by the thunderous crackling of the two falling Arjuna trees, he looks all around with his restless eyes. That's the verse. Now, terrified by that thunderous sound, all the inhabitants of Gokul fainted, and they remained unconscious for one danda. You know how long a danda is?
24 minutes.
Yes, 24 minutes. They fainted and remained unconscious for 24 minutes. Only the children who had gathered around Śrī Kṛṣṇa, they did not faint. But everybody else in Braj fainted. Being immersed In the utmost sweetness of his pastimes, they, like the figures in a painting, they remained unaffected by fear. The little boys. From a distance, Sri Vraja-raj and the other cowherd men heard that tumultuous and terrifying sound. Then, fearing some calamity, they all rushed to the spot, speculating to each other along the way about what had happened. And when they reached the spot, they became overcome with fear and doubt. Oh, what could have uprooted these two trees? They all cried. There is no wind or rain, nor was there any lightning, nor has an elephant attacked them. Who has uprooted them? Then some remarked, this is such a disaster, yet no one is here but us. Well, reasoned another, that is probably because the tumultuous sound of the crashing trees knocked everyone in Vraj unconscious. It really must have been quite loud, penetrating, huh? Just then, they noticed their little Gopal near the trees. A playful smile beautifying his face as he tugged the grinding mortar, freely showering the bliss of his pastimes upon all. What happened? What happened? They asked as they surrounded him, discussing the cause of the disaster. Seeing his father approaching from behind, little Mukunda began to cry. Although Sri Nanda Maharaj was still bewildered, he beamed a smile to pacify his darling child, and he quickly untied him. Sri Nanda Maharaj kissed the face of his son, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who spoke to Nanda Baba while crying. And although he knew why Krishna had been bound, he repeatedly asked, "Oh, my son, where is the wicked person who forcefully bound you to this grinding mortar?" Eventually, Krishna, who was devoted to his father, climbed into his lap, and with his arms around his father's neck and his voice quivering, he slowly spoke into his ear, "Father, it was mother who bound me." When Sri Jashoda had heard the deafening crash, she fainted. And after regaining consciousness, she pitifully began to repent. Sri Nanda Maharaj came to know this, and therefore he did not want to immediately question her, even in private. He did not even bother to ask the little children present. What could these little infants possibly know about it, he wondered. But then the children spoke up. "Father, we saw everything ourselves. We clearly saw your son go between the trees. He saw that open space over there, and he wanted to play there. And as he moved away from the trees, the grinding mortar became caught in between them. So from an angle, he tugged at the grinding mortar, and immediately the trees made a loud crackling sound, and they came crashing to the ground. And then two divine personalities, adorned with armor, crowns, and earrings, emerged from the trees, their stout figures as bright as fire. After circumambulating your Krishna and offering him obeisances, they said something to please him, and then they set off to the north. Sri Nanda Maharaj and the others, who were completely absorbed in parental affection for Krishna, they discarded the boy's words as silly prattling. Others, however, were left doubtful. Jita Prabhu, can you bring me a cup of water? All the people of Braj came there. All the people of Braj came there in ones and in twos, and gradually a large crowd gathered. Decorating his chest with his son, Sri Vrajaraj went with all of them to the Yamuna to finish his morning activities. He bathed in the river with his son on his lap. Thank you. He bathed in the river with his son on his lap. And after dressing, he arranged for the brahmanas to chant Svasti Vachana. These are specific mantras to invoke auspiciousness. All of that in that very place, he arranged for those brahmins to chant. Afterwards, he donated great wealth to those brahmins. And then he returned to his home, ready to take his breakfast. So this is all happening before breakfast. From sunrise, yeah. Now Sri Jashoda, the wife of Sri Nanda Maharaj, felt so sad and embarrassed that she had bound Krishna that she refused to leave the inner chambers of the house. She could not even speak with the gopis who had come to see her. So after they had all left, then the respected Sri Rohiṇī, who was expert in reconciling all situations, directed the head kitchen maids, who were all held in high esteem, in serving the morning meal. Beckoning Sri Vasudev's son, Sri Balaram, and his own son, Kanaya, to join him, Sri Vraja-raj ate with them in the midst of the endearing and indescribably sweet tumult that they had made. He then rested for nearly an hour with the two brothers, who were the personifications of supreme bliss. Soon it was evening, the charming time when the cows returned from the fields. And having rested well, he felt happy and content. So this is now evening. And after coming to the Goshala, he directed the cowherds in milking the cows and caring for them. Since Śrī Kṛṣṇa and Balaram were quite young, they still needed their mother's breast milk, and cow's milk is the best representative of breast milk. Sri Braj-raj first asked for some excellent white rock candy to be brought from the house. And after distributing it to them and the other little boys like Subal, the Nanda Baba began squirting nourishing cow's milk from the cow's udders directly into the brothers' mouths. Then, as they sat in the cowshed, he taught them how to make leaf cups and how to write letters on leaves. Nanda Maharaj is teaching them. Then after some time, he returned home, and in a blissful gathering, he took his evening meal with the two boys. The wise elderly gopis who adorned their respective dynasties like jewels or like goddesses of wealth, they always desired Sri Brajaraj's happiness. And therefore, after he had finished his meal, they approached him along with Sri Rohiṇī. And they said, "O king, Krishna's mother has not eaten anything all day, nor has she spoken with anyone. And seeing her condition, all the maids and the other gopis have also been sitting silently, and they also have not eaten anything." So he's just finding out that she was fasting the whole day. Then Sri Vrajaraj, he felt he was both sorry and also amused. "What can I do?" he asked. "She herself can see the detrimental effect of submitting to her anger." At this, tears began streaming down the gopis' faces, and they sobbed, "Oh no, she is so soft, internally and externally. Then hearing these painful words of yours, she will become even more aggrieved." Smiling, Sri Brajaraj asked his son, "My dear boy, do you want to go to your mother?" Śrī Kṛṣṇa promptly responded, "No, no, I will stay with you only." Then giggling, the wife of Sri Brajaraj's elder brother, Sri Upananda, questioned him, If you are only ever with your father, whose breast milk will you drink?" Krishna answered, "I will drink warm squirts of cow's milk mixed with rock candy," Krishna replied. "And with whom will you play?" all the gopis asked. "I will play with father and my brother too," he answered. Sri Braj then asked, "Why don't you go to your brother's mother, Rohiṇī?" Oh, sorry. "Why don't you go to your brother's mother, Rohiṇī?" Then tears welled up in Krishna's eyes, and he angrily said, "She was not there for me when I needed her." And at this, tearful-eyed Sri Rohiṇī spoke gently, "My dear son, why are you so harsh? Your mother is in so much anguish." Then Krishna pretended not to hear her words, and with moist eyes, he simply gazed at the face of his father. Then upon the motioning of Sri Rohiṇī, Balaram ran forward and seized Krishna's hand to bring him to her. But he wrestled out of Balaram's grip, and he ran back to his father's lap, and he tightly hugged him. We're almost done here. While on the lap of Brajaraj, he stood up and he draped his arms around his father's neck. And Krishna gazed into his eyes, which were now releasing a stream of tears, and absolutely captivated his father. Sri Brajaraj knew that really Krishna dearly loved his mother from the core of his heart. So to unearth that inner love, he raised his hand and he said, "If you tell me to, I will beat your mother." Then Śrī Kṛṣṇa could not tolerate this, and he tightly grabbed his father's arm with both hands. This made Nanda Baba laugh. Because he had the inherent Vatsalya bhav of being a father, he compassionately thought of the condition of Mother Yashoda's heart, and he said, "Son, what will you do if your mother just..." And in this statement, Sri Nanda Maharaj jokingly implied the word that means the opposite of lives. Jiva Goswami is not even saying the word.
Opposite of what?
Lives. Śrī Kṛṣṇa had the nature of a child, and therefore he became overwhelmed for want of his mother. With tear-filled eyes, he said, "Where is my mother? I am going to her." In this anxiety, he stumbled into Sri Rohiṇī's arms, and a din arose as everyone began to laugh. Meanwhile, Sri Rohiṇī, who bestows supreme joy upon all, entered into the house with teary-eyed Krishna, who joyously embraced his mother. And Sri Jashoda, she let forth deep sighs that resembled the lowing of a cow. She rested her chin on her darling child's head and began to weep. Her crying, which was full of love, completely melted her heart. Upon seeing her condition, everyone there also began to weep. The elderly gopis consoled Sri Jashoda in various ways. Gradually her heart began to feel relief, and the charm of her face began to reappear. Then Sri Jashoda, the daughter of Sri Sumukha Gopa, fed her darling son her breast milk to his great delight. After this, she took her meal with the wife of Sri Upananda and the other ladies, who were her greatest well-wishers. And as she ate, she kept Sri Kṛṣṇa and his elder brother Sri Balaram right beside her. Sri Jashoda felt so utterly ashamed that for 3 days she did not come before the eyes of Sri Brajaraj. Finally, Sri Bal Gopal, who always carries out his father's orders, personally brought her before him, pulling her by her upper cloth. Also from that day onward, the ladies of Braja jokingly and blissfully began calling Sri Kṛṣṇa Damodar, and remarking, "Ah, this is our same enchanting blue boy, Sri Shyam Manohar." Damodar, Shyam Manohar. Although Sri Jashoda repeatedly witnesses Sri Kṛṣṇa's superhuman majesty, this majesty never even slightly affects her Vatsalya or her motherly affection for him. Which scholar on earth is really able to praise her? Sri Shukadev Goswami has even stated that what to speak of others, Sri Brahma, Sri Shankar, Sri Lakshmi, they have all failed to achieve even 1/100th of the satisfaction and the happiness of what Sri Bal Mukunda, who bestows liberation, has awarded Sri Jashoda. In other words, from the perspective of bhakti, Sri Brahma, Sri Shankar, and Sri Lakshmi have failed to achieve even a small fraction of a fraction of Yashoda's bhakti. Just finishing now. Srila Shukadev Goswami has thoroughly disclosed the splendorous fame of Sri Jashoda, which reverberates like a drum throughout the three worlds. The Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-20 and other scriptures verify this. At this point, Sri Balaram turned to his younger brother Śrī Kṛṣṇa and excitedly remarked, "Do you remember when we used to live in Mahavan Gokul?" Śrī Kṛṣṇa smiled, yes. We had such fun sporting there." Snigdhakanta then concluded the day's narration. "O king of the cowherders, your divine son is so amazing, he was even able to make twin Arjun trees his dedicated devotees." The author, Srila Jiva Goswami, comments, "As all the members of the assembly returned to their respective homes, after hearing Sri Damodar Leela, they felt as if they had directly witnessed that festive pastime." Gaur Premanande. Yeah.
Great narration.
Jai Shri Jiva Goswami Pada Ki Jai, Shri Gopal Champu Ki Jai, Mother Yashoda Ki Jai, Nanda Baba Ki Jai, Dauji Bhaiya Ki Jai, Krishna Kanaya Ki Jai, all Brajabasi Gana Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. Pancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bheva Titanam Bhavane Bhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Kiva Jayo Jayo Gaura Chande Aroti Keśava Chana Vitata Bhani Jagamana Loga Jagamana Jaga Jane Mana Gorangira Roti Keśava Jaga Jane Mana Radha
Hare Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Gurudev ki jai. Katha Pravishta Om Vishnupat Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Katha Pravishta Om Vishnupat Srimad Bhaktivedanta Keśava Swami Maharaj ki jai. Katha Pravishta Om Vishnupat Srimad Jagat Guru Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Katha Pravishta Om Vishnupat Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ki jai. Katha Pravishta Om Vishnupat Srimad Srila Kishore Das Bhai Maharaj ki jai. Katha Pravishta Satchidananda Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Katha Pravishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Bhai Maharaj ki jai. Gurudev Acharya Vraja-devīs Bhushan Prabhu ki jai. Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chandravati Thakur ki jai. Rohiṇī Surudamalar Gaurpashravini ki jai. Śrī Bharatam Śrī Vashamananda Prabhupada ki jai. Śrī Sanatana Matargunata Śrī Gopala Patavara Raghunatha ki jai. Prince Kausi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Vathara Śrī Vasavesi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Radha Krishna Gopa Gopiko Gaura Dwada Svadmukha Śrī Vraja-mandala ki jai. Śrī Radha-kunda Shama-kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulasi Bhakti-devi ki jai. Vrinda-devi Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Gopal-purnamasi-dev ki jai. Vrindavan-dham ki jai. Navadvip-dham ki jai. Jagannath-puri-dham ki jai. Jagannath-baladev Subhadra Swarjan-chakra ki jai. Śrī Narasimha Bhagavan ki jai. Bhakta-pravarsi Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Grantaraj Śrī Chaitanya Maharaj ki jai. Nanda-koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samahata Vrinda ki jai. Srimad Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bo.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Shri Lakshmi Nrsimha Deva ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bo. Jai Shrimati Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Hansa, did you make it closer, focused? How did you do that?
Yeah, you just squeeze it.
Oh, you squeezed it. Okay.
You spread it out.
Yeah.
So
Okay.